See, that dance only looks good with this music. It doesn't look good with anything else.
There you go. Well, usually I do a whole thing where I put the name up there, and I've got it all going. I've got In the Green Room with Paul Nathan. I've got your firemagic.com up, but I was so enamored by your green screen and your whole thing. I got distracted and forgot what I was doing.
That can happen, my friend. That can happen. It's because we're on Zoom today, and so I've got my Zoom backdrop on.
Okay, yeah. Now, here's the other thing that I want everybody to know, that we're going to be doing a lot of really cool things here, and the video might be choppy. However, I just pressed the record button, so we're recording this, and the video will be really good on that recording. So I'm going to repost this later for you to watch all of the magic that's going to happen.
Magic! And that's my fault. I got to tell you, Jeff, because I don't want you to take the heat for this. This is my fault. There was a technical glitch. The audio was not syncing up with the video when we went through, what was the system you usually use?
Switcher
Studios?
Yeah.
Switcher Studio. So when we went through, because I have a fancy system here, so it didn't seem to work with Switcher Studio, and it's not Jeff's fault, it's my fault, because see, I have all these different cameras here. So I've got like a camera that goes down here on the table, and then I've got another camera that goes over here so I can do magic tricks into it, and then we've got the main shot camera right here. So but be able to have all those different cameras, I'm using an ATEM Mini switcher, and it wasn't compatible for whatever reason. So it's not your fault, Jeff. It's not Jeff's fault. It's my fault.
Well,
with my fanciness.
I'm used to taking the heat. It's okay. I can take it. You bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever gotten you in trouble for a gig, though, have I?
You've actually saved my ass a whole lot of times.
Have I? Okay, well, that's good.
Absolutely.
It's the other way around. I've had to write one or two apology letters, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, never to me.
No, not to you.
We our history is really well. I want to get one of those cups. Can you get
this cup is too big. It's a giant. It's bigger than my head.
Can you get a cup like that and sign your name to it and send it to me?
Yeah, absolutely. I will.
So
just write your address on the screen right here so all the stalkers can find you.
No. They already know how to find me.
There's that.
Yeah.
Is anyone watching this? It's like your mom, your sister, is your daughter watching? How is she?
No, she's not here right now.
Okay, well, if you see her, say hi.
Okay, well.
Last time I saw her was at the Magic Castle.
Yes.
7 years ago, 5 years ago?
Oh, close to that. But I want you to know something, that one of the cool gigs that we did up at the theater in San Francisco and
the
Regency, the day we did that show, my girlfriend at the time was pregnant with Mackenzie, who you met at the castle. Yes.
Aww.
That was in 2005.
Wow. So I've known her since before she was born, technically speaking.
Yeah, technically, yeah. So let's get right to it. Let's talk a little bit about your magic and all of the stuff you've been doing up until now, because you were in Europe, you're the Magic Castle. Can you give me a sample of the kind of things that you do when you go to those places?
Yes, let's introduce me to you, because no one knows who I am.
That's right. Paul Nathan, ladies.
I just lost my earphone.
Paul Nathan.
Hold on. You tell everyone about me 1 second. I just lost my earphone. One moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, magician extraordinaire, Paul Nathan. I've hired countless times to do magic and be an MC and tell jokes and talk to people and run a show for me, and he does a magnificent job at it. I can't even begin to explain all of the things that you can do.
I'm an industry treasure, just known only in the industry. So I'm a professional magician. I started out in Los Angeles. I was born here in San Francisco, moved around a bunch, but ended up in Los Angeles doing magic during my college years at a nightclub called Vertigo. And Vertigo was this big deal nightclub. It was the Studio 54 of the West Coast. And so I was young, but I was performing for all these celebrities and all these directors and stars, not because of me, but because they would come to this club, and I was just the house magician, this big nightclub. And so I met lots of people. I ended up on TV a bunch because of it, and ended up with these great credits. And when I finished college, I was going to go on to grad school, but then I thought, well, I've been a magician. I mean, maybe I'll try. So I went ahead and I decided to be a magician for a couple of years, knowing full well that I would fail miserably at it and go back to college and get a real job. But I thought it'd be fun to do for a little while. So I moved from LA to San Francisco, learned how to street perform. That was 2 years of just crying myself to sleep every night. And at the end of 2 years, I had a nice stage show that was funny and fun and whatever. And but it was San Francisco, so we had the whole .com thing was just starting to take off right then. And so I started doing all these corporate shows, and really spent the next 25 years just being a corporate little puppet, and loving it. I love being a corporate puppet.
And that's
the little money strings.
Right. That's how I met you, was on corporate gigs, when you would walk around the room and do magic tricks at people's tables, card tricks and lots of things. But the thing that I think you started doing in recent years was the fire magic. You explain some of that to us? What the fire magic
Sure.
is?
Yeah, so fire magic, it was the beginning of the whole it was pre.com. This was 85 or something, and people were just starting to have websites. And for whatever reason, I think I'd just been on Star Trek, and I had done some fire on Star Trek, and they had hired me specifically for this one fire trick that I did. And I was doing a lot of fire reading and fire performance stuff, and a lot of effects work, particularly pyro effects. And so I named my website firemagic.com, and then the Great White Travesty happened, and it stopped being okay to do fire magic. And so I couldn't travel with any of the equipment, and so I really just moved away from it. And I haven't really done any fire magic. I took the last piece of fire out of my show about 5 years ago.
Oh.
It was the burning foot. You know the burning foot trick
No.
I used to do? Oh, I used to sit down and I would take my shoe off and my foot would be on fire. It's like the Desnex commercial, where the foot's on fire, but I was doing it live. And it was just ridiculous. Just this weird moment in the show where I'm like, I'm sorry guys, I've got this, and I just take my shoe off. This has been bugging me. And there's this 3-foot flame coming off of my foot. And I just sit there with it for like 20 seconds, way longer than it should, like way hurt by now. And then I put my shoe back on and just go back to the show. And it was a really fun, weird moment in the show. But yeah, I haven't done that in 5 years.
Well,
So I actually moved away from the whole fire magic brand, everything. Now I'm badmagician.com. And then it turns out that Bad Magician was bad. So now I think we're going with Unusual Productions, and of course the I Hate Children show. IHateChildren.com is actually probably the website I send people to more than anything else.
okay, I'll make sure that I'll put that up for you. IHateChildren.com. But
Yeah.
you mentioned Los Angeles, and you mentioned Star Trek. Now this is something I don't know about you. So did you do a lot of TV and film and stuff?
So back when I was still in Los Angeles, when I had just left Los Angeles, I wanted to do magic. So for those of you that are aspiring young entertainers in the world of variety arts or music, here's a little advice. Just do it. Get a business card, do it. And it'll take a little while, but you just do it and you keep doing it, and eventually you'll get good at it. And try not to suck. That's the best thing you can do. But for me, I was in college, and I was working at this nightclub in Los Angeles, and back then I would just say yes to everything, because worst thing that was going to happen is it would be an interesting story, right? And so I took this gig at this nightclub, and it turned out to be this long running gig. And like I said, there was a lot of celebrities there and a lot of industry people that were coming there. And so I just met a bunch of people, and they would, offer me little walk-on spots and stuff like that. So I wasn't doing anything big. I was just doing these little walk-ons. But as I moved into the corporate world, it turns out that it's really nice to have a couple of TV or movie slots a year that you can promote to the corporate world. So, I call all my agent friends up, or send a bunch of, now you'd send emails, but back then we would send postcards, and do a little postcard campaign that would say, hey, on June 21st, I'm going to be on blah, blah, blah. And it might only be a minute, it might be, whatever. But I tried to do a couple of TV or movie appearances a year, because it just, I felt like it kept me relevant and interesting. And it was a way of reminding agents that I'm the cool guy that's working and, doing interesting stuff. And I think it just, because you don't want to be just sending emails out to people saying, hey, I'm available, hey, I'm available. You want to be telling people, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is the cool stuff I'm up to. I think that's a much more interesting story from a marketing perspective. And I know it doesn't sound very artsy and everything, but, our business is show with 4 letters and business with a bunch more letters than show. It's, you got to do the business part of it. And so that's what I lack in talent, I make up for in business.
Okay. Well, what would be the one trick that you started doing that is the simplest, that gets the most attention, and the most, like, you knew right off that if you did this trick, this was the icebreaker, everybody would be thinking this is great? That's really kind of easy to do.
So from a very young age, this is probably the very first magic trick I ever learned. And it's called the Vanishing Silk. You can get it at any magic shop. Probably a bunch of folks that are watching right now are familiar with this trick. Maybe you've seen it already. Maybe you know how to do it. Maybe you perform it yourself. It's a very, very simple trick, but I still perform this trick all the time. I love this magic trick because, to me, I think it's elegant. You're using this beautiful little piece of silk. This silk comes all the way from China, Jeff, from China town, here in San Francisco. It's nice.
I was just going to ask you if you quarantined that silk for 14 days.
I did. It's been in my pocket for longer than that, probably. So, but look at this. So this is the trick. Now I'm doing this for the camera. So check this out. Look at how pretty this is. The silk goes into the hand, and then.
What?
I mean, I know that looks like magic to me. I've been doing this for, my entire life. So for 50 years, close to 50 years. I mean, I think I learned this when I was 6. So that would be literally 50 years. And that just, it still, to me, looks like magic when I do it. Losing my earphone. I just got I got the new iPhone, iPod 2, EarPod 2s, the Pro ones, the nice ones. And they've fallen out of my ears in the last 3 days since I bought them. They've fallen out of my ears more than the last ones fell out in a year.
Maybe
so
a little gaff tape would work. You could
some thumbtacks.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, but this is a beautiful trick. I love this trick, and it's it's so elegant, and the nice thing about it is it's simple. Everyone can understand the story. There's no mystery, and it's so.
Man,
so beautiful. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah,
I love that trick. So that's one of the first magic tricks that I ever learned. It's one of my favorite magic tricks to perform now for people. If I'm just out on the block, or if I'm waiting in line at a who am I kidding? I'm a celebrity. I don't wait in lines. If one of my staff members is waiting in line. No, if I'm at a restaurant or something and someone hears I'm a magician, that's like the trick that I normally would do first. And it's simple, it's quick. They can hold it in their hands. They understand what it is.
I still think you need to have your name written on the front of that mug that says Paul Nathan. Right there.
Fatmagician.com. I owned fatmagician.com for a while, and then I let it go and someone else bought it. I should have kept that one.
Oh, that would have been a good one.
Would have been.
All right. Now, what about coin and card tricks?
Well, I mean, card tricks that's my first love. I love doing card tricks. And I could do a card trick for you, but I want to do this coin trick because
Okay.
coin tricks is kind of new for me. And I'm going to be honest, I'm probably going to screw this up. Um, but this is my favorite new coin trick. And it's super simple. What happens is the coin, of course, goes over to here and it jumps from the hand to the other hand. And I love that trick. But you probably guessed how I do it. I have two coins. With two coins, it's easier. I'm sorry, I should be looking up here. I'm looking down at the screen. But let me just show you this again. See, the coin jumps from place to place like that. And I think that's just so pretty. This is one of my favorite new tricks. And it is new. It's a new trick. It's a new trick. So what happens again, the coin goes right here and then jumps from place to, you probably see, you kind of see that I have an extra, I have 3 coins. That's how I do it. And with 3 coins, it makes it a little bit easier. No, because I'm not used to doing this for the camera yet, but that's okay. Because what happens is you take this coin and you make it disappear, you see? And then you take the second coin and you make that one disappear. And the last coin is the most difficult coin. This one, you make that one disappear. I think that's just a pretty trick. I love that trick.
Oh,
Anyway. Oh, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. It's very nice. Very kind of you.
okay.
I got to shut up while they're applauding because it overrides your applause.
Let's do a little bit more. Okay, all right. We could take this show on the road. Maybe I could come sit beside you on the stage and do sound effects.
I would love that. Oh, dude. So for my last big theater show, we do Dark Cabaret every November, and Dark Cabaret is it's a showcase show that I do. I invite friends of mine from around the world to fly in and do this show for my friends here in San Francisco. And we'll find a nice theater. We used to do it at the Great American Music Hall, which is this beautiful jewel box of a theater here. And then I got the Great Star Theaters. We were doing it at that theater, and this year we did it at the Gateway Theater. And so I got Michael Davis, who was on Saturday Night Live and a bunch of Tonight shows. We had Frank Olivier, all these different people. But this year I had it ran for 3 weekends because it was a smaller theater. And I thought if I'm going to do 3 weekends, we should do 3 different shows with 3 different casts. And the first weekend I did a show that I've always wanted to do. It was an old time radio show. It was like the Jack Benny show. And so, we did it with a live sound effects person, with a Foley artist. And we had this right over here, we had this whole sound effects table set up. And I started the show by explaining, welcoming people to the show and saying, hey, so we're going to go live in an hour. What you're seeing right now is us getting ready for the show. And just then Maya walked in, and I say, that's Maya. She's our sound effects girl. So she's in charge of all of the little sound effects that add so much to the show. So, for instance, if I start telling a story and I say, I was walking down the street, and then you hear she's got these little shoes, and she's sort of, and then it started raining, and she had raindrops, and it was really, really cool. And I just told this whole story, and then did this magic trick with all of these sound effects, with that and rain. It doesn't sound good with me making little slurpy noises, but it was really nice on stage with the whole setup and the horns honking, and it was really fun.
Well, wait.
Like that.
The horn honking.
But more of an auga. Do you have an auga horn?
No. Oh, I know what kind of horn. Oh no, I don't have one of those ready.
Oh, dude.
I got to get prepared. I got to get prepared for my all my. I've got some. So I'm limited. I'm not. I got to prepare for the show. Next time we'll get all my sound effects together so I can go. Whoosh, whoosh,
I've had better sound men on a porn shoot. Come on, Jeff, get it together.
Oh,
your laugh was fine. Just you by yourself. That was pure and clean and lovely.
All right. So I love the coin trick though. Did you do that kind of stuff on your Dark Cabaret?
No. That's too small for the stage.
Yeah. What kind of tricks do you do on those shows? Do you cut people in half? Any of that kind of stuff?
You know, I've only done like a big illusion trick once. It was in Paris for a company called Alcatel, and they were talking about uh, IP telephony. So having the telephone use internet protocol so that, for instance, your phone would follow you wherever you are. So if you're sitting at your desk phone would ring. If you're on your computer would ring. If you're just walking down the street, your cell phone would ring, and uh, and all of these other things that you could do with IP-based telephony. This was 15 years ago, and so the idea of this follow me anywhere telephony, different ringtones, different IDs for different people, all of this stuff was really new, and they were just figuring it out. And so I was doing this kind of demo for them, and I was working with this a Belgian production company, and they were this big TV production company, totally pro, and they brought me in and asked me to do a magic trick where I put swords into a box and made a girl disappear, and then out of the box, a big ball floated to represent the wholeness of the one whole thing from IP telephony. And then the box closes and then the girl comes back out again. And I've never done a box jumping show before in my life or since. And so I bought this box on the internet. It arrived one day before I was flying out to Paris. I basically put it together to make sure it worked, and then took it apart and put it on a plane and flew to Paris with it. And then we started rehearsal the next day. And, because the whole thing happened really quick. It was a whole script. Everything happened within like 5 days from the time they hired me to the time the gig happened.
Oh,
and yeah, and so they're like, well, this is the trick we want to do. And I'm like, okay, I'll go find that trick. And because they were going back and forth on which trick it was going to be. They wanted to be this, then they wanted it to be that, and they wanted to be this. They wanted me because they wanted someone that was going to be funny and charismatic and that could perform in several languages. And yeah, that was the first time that I was nervous for it. You and I were talking before we started here. We were talking about being nervous for gigs.
mhm.
That was the first time that I was nervous for a show in probably 10 years. And it's one of the last times that I remember being nervous for a show.
Well,
I was like full on butterflies before we went on.
yeah, there's a certain amount of comfortableness you need to get with whatever, like even me with a song playing a tune for a show. There's a certain amount of work and preparing that you need to do to feel comfortable. I can't imagine trying to do that and then rehearse it there and get it together and them not making up their minds about things. It just would have left me really uncertain myself.
Yeah, it was a little bit tricky, and so part of the script was in French, part of it was in English, part of it was in German, and none of it had been played in front of an audience. So we knew that as we played it live, we were going to change it, and of course I had to change the pacing to for the timing of the comedy, because you don't know what's going to be funny or how it's going to be funny until you say it out loud in front of an audience. And so it was a little bit like it was a lot of on-site rehearsal. We had 2 days of on-site rehearsal, and I could tell by when the crew was laughing that I was nailing the joke, but that's the only way I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And you could hear different people laughing in different parts because different people spoke different languages. So like the Germans thought this was funny, and the French thought this was funny. And yeah, that one was a crazy gig. That was a lot of fun.
Do you speak?
But yeah, that's the only time I've ever done that.
Do you speak German and French?
I can do my show in German. So normally when I get hired to perform overseas, they want me to do the show in English and bad whatever the language is. So like in Germany, I performed in Germany for 2 years straight on in a cabaret show. And so I can do my act in German, but if I try and do the act just in German, it's just not as funny because I'm not, a hilarious German. Um, but then few Germans are hilarious, so it's kind of okay. But I can do the act in German. And what I would do is every Sunday would be the show, the afternoon show would be grandmas and kids. It was a different demographic than like Saturday night, which was all, 20-something-year-old, 30-something-year-old people out on a date. They all spoke English. And so that was real easy for me because I could ad lib in English, but I can't really ad lib in German and nail it. I can ad lib in German and sometimes really make mistakes. And sometimes the mistakes are funny, but more often than not, they just are incomprehensible and it doesn't work. But what I would do is every Sunday for the early show, for the matinee show, I would do the show almost completely in German for the older folks who didn't learn English in school and the younger kids who haven't started learning English yet. And so I would practice every week doing the show all in German. But most of the time, I would be introduced, the MC would say, we have a magician. He comes from America. Comes from dem USA. Spricht kein Deutsch. He doesn't speak any German at all. So please just be gentle with him, be supportive, give it up for Paul Nathan. And then I would come on and I would start to try and, do these jokes. And I would say, wie sagt die auf Deutsch? So I would say to people in the audience, how do you say this? Like I have this little silk. I have this silk. I'm gonna do a magic trick with a silk, a Zauber trick with a silk. And I would start out by saying, Guten Abend, ich heiße Paul Nathan. So that's good evening, I'm Paul Nathan. Ich komme aus San Francisco in dem USA und das ist all mein Deutsch sprechen. Dankeschön. And that would get a big applause because they know I'm trying, right? And then I'd say, sorry, that's all the German I speak. I've been learning like to say my job. Ich bin ein Zauberer. And that means I am a cleaner on stage. Because Zauberer is magician and Zauberer is cleaner. And I couldn't tell the difference. And so I would go out and I would try desperately to say, Ich bin ein Zauberer, which is correct. And I would end up saying, Ich bin ein Zauberer, which is cleaner. And I can't tell the difference for like a year. And then I would go out and try, and then it would get this huge laugh. And then I would try to replicate it, and I would end up saying Zauberer instead of Zauberer because I can't tell the difference. I can't speak the difference. And it's so close. It's a Z or an S, and it sounds so the same. Anyway, so that would be like the opening joke. And then there would be all these jokes that would start happening because I'm trying to communicate with them, and they're telling me stuff, and it's not working. And so the whole show ends up not being about the whole show ends up about me trying to do the show for them in their language and not being able to. And that's the same wherever I am. Those jokes work because it's not about the trick. It's about my relationship with the audience and my relationship with the language. And, I'm this high status artist who's flown in and I'm dressed nice. I'm obviously, this, really successful magician because I'm this big star that they brought in. But then I can't speak any 3-year-old can speak the language better than me. So I'm having my legs cut out from under me. And that's where the comedy comes from. And it's hilarious. I'm way funnier in German than I am like right now. So anyway, I love performing the show in foreign countries and doing the show like that. So like in Spain, we did a show, they flew us over. I flew over with my girlfriend at the time, Cherry Bomb. You remember Cherry Bomb? She did a fire show.
Yeah. Yeah.
The lovely and talented Ms. Cherry Bomb. She did this beautiful, it was the best fire show I've ever seen in my life. She was stunning. It was this acrobatic fire show. It was elegant. It was beautiful. And then she did a bunch of other magic tricks with me. And our opening joke was, I come out on stage and I say, Buenas noches, soy Pablo, soy un mago. And then in Spanish, I say, hey guys, please help me. My girlfriend and I are in a big fight, mucho peligroso, big fight now about how to say fork in Spanish. How do you say fork in Spanish? And everyone yells tenedor. And I turn to her and I say, see, I told you. And there's this fork sticking out of my back. And she walks out from the other side and she grabs the fork and puts her foot up and pulls the fork out of my back. And it's this hilarious joke. Now, I got to credit it. That joke was written by a guy named Fielding West, who's one of my favorite magicians in the world. And he used to do it, but he did it in English. And I called him up and asked him if I could do it because it was such a perfect joke to do with a foreign language. And he gave me permission to do it. He said, you can do it in Europe, just don't do it in America. I was like, fair enough. it's your joke in English, as long as I can do it in Spain. So, but the whole show ended up being about, again, us not speaking the language. All these jokes are happening because I'm having trouble with the language. Well, the producers see me struggling with the language. And so they put an interpreter on the microphone, and the interpreter starts interpreting everything I'm saying. And all of a sudden I wasn't funny at all. And the whole show just was like, and I had to send Cherry Bomb over to tell him to stop. Yeah.
So this is my question then is you had
yes. What's your question? Because I've tangentialized so far.
So we had the big box and the knives and the woman and the balloon. The thing how did you get the balloon to come out with the knives? How did that? I mean, not that you want to tell me, but
magic.
So you do.
My hands look weird that close.
Yeah. So most of the stuff I wanted to ask you about, most of the stuff that I see you do are the up close kind of things. And when you do the big corporate things, you need to do things that are a little bigger, or they need to be on a camera somehow and put up on a screen. Is that correct?
Yeah. So as you know, for the last 25 years, I've been doing magic tricks under a camera like this, and then popping them up onto a big screen. We've still got that green screen on, so it's going to be a little weird here. But we've been doing, so I've been doing these, it's called IMAG, image magnification. So I've been doing these magic tricks that happen on these small screens as a part of my show. So this would be, 3-minute, 5-minute bit in the middle of, a 35 or 45-minute show. And it can be really, powerful and really nice. It was cool 20 years ago, 15, even 10 years ago, because no one else was doing it. But, as the equipment has gotten more accessible, now everyone is doing it. And so, you want to stay relevant and you want to stay interesting and you want to stay fresh and keep coming up with new stuff. And so, we're coming up with new things, but now everything has moved online. This is where shows are. This is show business for the next 6 months, 9 months. And so fortunately I have all these little magic tricks that I can do for, these cameras that I've been doing for years, and they translate really nicely. But, it's going to be tricky figuring out how to relate to an audience. We're doing a Zoom call, so I'm talking to you right now.
Right.
But when you're performing for an entire array of folks in an audience and they're all sitting at, how do you speak to them? How do you, we're learning little tricks like, you can't see it. Let me see if I can cut to this camera and rejig this. So see, this is what I'm looking at right now. This is my system. So like this camera is too high. I actually have this camera on a stick and it was here and we moved it up a little bit, but it needs to come back down. Well, we moved it up here because the camera needs to be this high looking down at me because down here is not a flattering angle. Mm-hmm. But what I really need to do is move this monitor, and we've got the equipment, we just need to do it. This monitor needs to come up so it's behind the camera. So when I'm looking at you, so like right now, if I'm looking at you, I'm looking down at the screen down here. And you want to be looking in the camera up here because here I'm looking at you and we have eye contact. It's all this, fiddly little stuff that we're figuring out. And so having the screen right behind the camera, so I'm looking through the camera at the screen, makes a huge difference as to where because if you have if you have it down below, then you look shifty-eyed and.
And I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing the same thing right now. I have my camera right in front of your face. So
Right.
I'm looking straight at you, but I can't necessarily see you. You know, I have a new respect for performers or actors that need to act in front of a camera and act as if there's an entire audience there.
Yeah.
A-
Yeah.
And because
It's not easy.
no, and knowing what is really working and what's not. I know on these live streams, the reason why I live stream it is because people like to comment. You know, they
Yeah.
like to follow and comment.
Do we
So
have comments now?
we do. We're
Any questions other than how do I do it?
no, not yet because we've only done a couple of magic tricks. Let's do a couple more.
Oh, you want to see
And
another magic trick?
yeah,
All right. Ooh, this one's fun. This is a fun trick.
okay.
Nope. That's not it.
That's not,
That's a mark deck. Oh, I don't have my fun trick. Oh, that's sad. I don't know where it went. It was here. Hold on a second. You talk a second, Jeff.
okay.
Ah,
Well,
here we go. Thank you, Mike.
I
Never
love.
mind, Jeff. I'll talk. I'll talk. I have a deck of playing cards here. So, here's what we can do.
Okay.
If you want to have one of your guests name a card and just pull it up in the chat. If so, whoever's first will use that card. I got a deck of cards right here. Get them angled right so the light doesn't glare off of them. And
So there is a little bit of a delay. Um,
well, then you just name a card, Jeff. Any card at all, but not the Ace of Spades. Everyone thinks the Ace of Spades.
not the ace of spades. How about the two of clubs?
Sorry, let me do that again. The two of clubs.
Yes.
That's
How
a good
about-
one.
Oh, I've
I'm going to find the two of clubs.
and then
Now, finding the two is no great feat. Finding the two is no great feat, Jeff. There it is. There's the two of clubs. I'm not going to try and find the two of clubs. That's going to be easy, mundane. For you, I'm going to do something special, Jeff. You see, on the back of the deck of cards, there's a little guy. You see the little guy right there? Oops, he's
Yeah.
upside down. See a little guy right there?
Yeah.
Underneath him is another and another and another. Each one slightly different than the one before. Actually, I'm going to go to this
Okay.
camera over here. Yeah. See a little guy right there? That slight differentiation in the illustration creates the illusion of motion. So watch. Watch as the little guy comes to life. He reaches up and takes his hat off. He reaches into his hat and pulls out a card. He looks at the card and smiles because he knows it's your card.
Oh,
Of clubs. Smack!
oh, how'd you? Okay, so somebody asked for Queen of Hearts. Can you do it with Queen of Hearts?
Well, I could, but you've already seen the trick. So we really want to see it with Queen of Hearts? I suppose if you want, I'll do it with the Queen of Hearts, just so no one thinks that I'm being sneaky. Queen of Hearts, Queen of Hearts, Queen of Hearts. Where's the Queen of Hearts? Queen of Hearts. There's the Queen of Hearts. Do it with the Queen of Hearts. Again, not the. I'm gonna try and find the Queen of Hearts for you. See, little guy, each one different than one before. Queen of Hearts. There's your card, the Queen
How
of
do you
Hearts.
do
There we
that?
go. Chicanery, sneakiness, magic.
That's really cool. See,
Yeah, again, that's one of my favorite tricks. I learned that trick in Hong Kong in 1995, 2 years before the handover. I was doing the Hong Kong Fringe Festival, and I met a magician there named Mark Elston, and he showed me that trick, and I was like, "That's amazing!"
that's really cool. That's really
And then I said, "I want to do that on TV." And then that was the first trick that we did on the big screen. That was the first trick that I migrated over to do with the hands down camera and then put onto the big screen on stage. No, it's not. The first trick we did on the big screen was an underwater magic trick that I learned how to scuba dive so I could do this one trick. And it was basically same thing. It was a pick a card trick. Someone in the audience picked a card, and then on the big screen I had the the card come, and the lights went off as this card came in. When the lights came back up, I was standing on stage soaking wet in a scuba mask, and it was dumb, but it was fun.
What? So you had to put a big thing of water on the stage and get in it and find the on the stage and get all wet and soaking and.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that much. It was like just a little, just a glass of water like this was enough to soak me properly. I didn't have to do a full thing, but it was. But no, because it was a roll of me scuba diving. So we just shot to B-roll, or we cut to B-roll. So there's a roll of the camera. So I did the trick on a cruise ship, and I basically said, so you guys have been having a lot of fun. I've been having a lot of fun. And, they've got videographers around and they're shooting all this video of us. And, at the end of the cruise ship, you can buy a video and it includes all this, really fun video of the vacation that we've shared today. Here's some video that we shot today. What was your card that you just thought, I'm in the middle of doing a card trick and then I devolve into this. I'm like, what was the card that you just yelled out a minute ago? The four of hearts. Well, so here's some video of us today. And then there's video of us scuba diving that we shot under the ship. And then I say, so here we are all scuba diving. And I don't know if anyone here was on that trip, but there we are. And oh, look, and there I'm doing a card trick for someone. And oh, look, and the camera just swims up to me and I'm holding their four of hearts. And it's just like, boom, that was the card and it's all underwater. Cool. And then when the lights come back up, I've got this, just a snorkel and a scuba mask on. And my head's all wet. Oh. That was the joke.
Okay.
It was dumb.
That's cool. So
yeah.
What have you been working on to be able to do something from this perspective, like we're talking about? Now, this is how we're going to have to do maybe moving forward. Are you working on some things to make a little show, like a live stream show from your studio there, from your house?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, all of my friends are, and the ones that aren't, I'm encouraging them to. This is where show business is. It's actually, there's a potential for this to be really amazing and connecting in a lot of ways, to be able to have really interesting interpersonal connections in ways that we might not have been able to otherwise. Even though we're separate, I think there's a potential for some really nice connectivity and some nice getting to know you time. Mug, but Paul.
Yeah, like that. And
firemagic.com.
Yes. And have a little.
No, of course we were talking about that. That was very specifically what we're talking about.
Right.
And yes, and I already did my first Zoom call for a corporate client last week, and I'm in the middle of production. We're doing a Zoom call for another client next month. That one's going to be a lot more technical. That's for a client of mine. They do network security, and yeah, they give you a single pane of glass with a view into your entire cyber kill chain. I'm going to be talking to. So what I did for them is I did a series of content marketing promo videos. So we just shot right here in the studio. I shot a bunch of little videos that they can put on their Facebook page or their LinkedIn page or whatever, inviting you to this Zoom call on the 24th because they want to be promoting this call so people show up for it. So it's fun. There's a little bit of magic trick that happens. And I talk a little bit about how this particular company gives you a view into all the different cybersecurity, tools that you have. Right now your NTA, your UBA, and your SIM logs are all handled by different people, and so you don't have a single view into what's going on in your system. With this company's solution, they give you a single view into the entire kill chain that lets you see exactly, so blah blah blah, all that stuff, right? Except that my earphones stayed in during that. So I've been doing these little videos, promoting this and doing a magic trick while I'm talking about it, right? And then finish the little pitch and the magic trick and, join me on the Zoom call. And during the Zoom call, I'm sure I'm going to be doing stuff that's a little bit more integrated, so that I can be, they want it to mostly just be fun, but there'll be some integrated magic tricks where I talk about, for instance, if think of this deck of cards as if this deck of cards was your network or your IT system, and each of these cards represented a server. Every time that you queried a server would be like saying pick a card. So think of a card and blah blah blah, and then your server needs to query that. You query that, and you want to get the fastest ping time. So there's the card that you were just thinking of, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. And so I've been working on those kinds of tricks, but I've been doing that sort of thing under a camera on stage for a while. So most of it's about the specific trick, and then a little bit of it is about how we're going to modify these things for the camera. And then a lot of it is I'm used to having a camera here that, I'm still talking to the audience up here while my hands are down here, and the audience can look at the screen or they can look at me and they can ping pong back and forth. With this, it's a little tricky. I mean, I do have picture in picture. So, oops. There we go. So I can do the picture in picture thing, and I can still be talking to you while I'm doing the hand stuff down here. But that's part of why we have this whole ATEM solution, because you want to be able to I'm on camera 3, sorry. I need tally lights on these things. So anyway, that's the kind of thing I've been up to. And then a lot of it is just, Jeff, it's like you started saying earlier, you have to know the song so well that you don't have to think about the song, because you want to be playing the song, but you want to be looking at the audience. Right?
Yeah. So
you want to be playing the song, but looking at the lead singer and giving, because you're playing drums, right? So you want to know what's going on so well that you're just playing the drums, but you're looking over at the lead singer and you're watching him, and you're taking your cues from him, both physically and audibly. But also, if anyone looks at you, they see you looking at the drummer and giving the drummer focus, or they see you looking back out at the audience and playing and smiling and having fun, not struggling and thinking or counting. And you know what I mean? Right. And that's where you want to be. And it's the same for, for the variety arts. When I'm doing magic tricks, I don't want to be thinking about the magic trick. I want to be thinking, and I don't want to be thinking about the script. I want to be thinking about the folks I'm talking to and interacting with them. So you need to know the script so well that you can go off book and get back into where you wanted to go while you're relating to people. And if someone yells something out, you can respond in real time and not have it not even yell something out, but if someone says something to you or interacts in some way, you can have a real communication. So you're not just listing off a script, you're talking to people. And that's that's a lot of what needs to get learned right now on with this technology between us. But once we break that down, again, you're inches from my face right now, and you're inches from my beautiful eyes.
Nope. I was going to ask you, do you ever work with animals, or, make the birds disappear and all that kind of junk? Have you ever do that sort of thing?
I don't. I won't work with animals, and I generally won't work with an assistant. I work with other people on stage, and I'll work with women on stage, like Cherry Bomb. People would say, "Oh, your assistant." She's not my assistant. My assistant would be working for me. Cherry Bomb is my equal on stage. She's a co-performer. I may be the star, but she's a co-star. She's not, she's not carrying things out to me. And nothing against assistants, but I just never felt like that was appropriate for me. And animals, I never really wanted to have animals on stage. I felt like I wanted to be, the people that work with animals and really love animals and they want to share their animals, I think that's really cool. Yeah. But the people who work with animals because they want an animal on stage, I think that's just not, I was never comfortable with that, so I just won't do it.
And these days you could get into a whole lot of trouble making sure you don't harm your animals.
Well, yeah. And then, and it limits where I can perform. I love performing all over the world, and the quarantine times on animals is challenging. I was with Lance Burton in Las Vegas. He's a very, very successful, very successful magician in Las Vegas. And he did a dove show, and he loves his doves, man. He loves his doves. And, he finished his show. This is $1 million show. and giant theater, 2 shows a night, 10, 12, 14 shows a week, sold out shows. He's packed, and and he does this bit with these doves, and then at the end of the night, I was driving him home from this thing, and he's got his box of doves in a little dove container. He's taking his doves home with him. He's not leaving him at the theater, and that's his theater. He has his own dressing room. He has his own hotel room attached to it that he could live in if he wanted to and take naps or whatever. He's going home. He takes his dove home. He loves his doves. I mean, that was cool to see someone that really cared about the animals he was working with and treated them as partners on stage and wanted to share that with the audience. And so that was really nice. But I'm not that guy.
You could get a guy like me and train me to jump around, do roll over, roll over, sit, heel, roll over. So how would we do an interactive thing when you're on Zoom? You would, in a small audience, you might be able to take questions from a handful of people, like live, right?
Yeah, and you can always. I don't know if you have me spotlighted right now. I don't think you do, because I think we're bouncing back and forth, and it's just the two of us on this Zoom call, because you're copying this and sending this out through Stream.
Switcher.
What's it called?
Switcher Studio.
Switcher Studio. And so there's not a real-time audience here, but when I do Zoom phone calls, they'll spotlight me, so I'm on, but then you can pass it around to people, and I can see the comments going, and people can raise their hands. There's all these tools on Zoom for people doing interactive communication, and so that gives me an opportunity to have them interact in a slightly different way than this.
And how do I spotlight you? Because it does, I'm not seeing it ping back and forth, but I know it does in the recording.
Well, because it's just you and I, you can't spotlight me. If there was more people here, there would be an option to spotlight me.
I'm not a avid Zoom guy.
No, I know. And, it's funny because, I have to learn to be one, because that's where so many of these meetings are happening. And I don't do Zoom meetings. I've lived on Facebook for years. So, as I travel around the world, a lot of my friends, they're in different time zones. Quite often we would either FaceTime, or more often I would talk to people on Facebook Messenger and on Skype. Those are the ways I usually communicate with friends around the world, and agents and producers, and techs. So, like, I was just performing in the Middle East in January, and I was doing all these calls with the technicians there, and we would do Skype phone calls, because then I could show her, this is the piece of equipment we're going to be using. It uses this kind of a plug, standard Edison plug, and she could say, yes, we have that, because in that part of the world they were using the British style plugs. So she's like, yes, we have that kind of plug, and I'm using a standard XLR plug. Of course they have that. That's standard everywhere in the world. An XLR plug is a microphone plug for friends. And then, we're going to be bringing in this kind of a guitar amp for my guitarist. And we had him on the call, and he's like, yeah, I need, a direct box. So it was nice to be able to have this call. So my guitarist for that show was in Edinburgh, Scotland. She at the time was in South Africa. No, she was in Australia at that time, prepping for this show in Australia. And I was in San Francisco. And so we're, all doing this video call together, being able to show each other the equipment, and she's able to show me the light plot they have and everything, and but now everyone's doing that same thing in Zoom, and Zoom's got some interesting tools for doing it. It's nice, it's cool. But we have to learn how to use you have to know how to use it. It's like we were just saying about the music. You have to know the music well enough that you're not thinking about the music. We need to know our medium well enough, because I spent all this time learning how to do magic, but I spent just as much time, more time maybe, learning how to relate to an audience and how to be comfortable in front of an audience, so that when all hell is breaking loose backstage, I'm standing on stage saying, think of a number between 1 and 10 and let's do a thing. Or, so where are you from? Or, you seem to be having fun. What's your name? And while this is going on, I've got, someone either talking to my earphone saying, blah, stretch, and you're like, for how long? And they're like, I don't know, just stretch, and it's, you've got that kind of stuff going into your headset while you're standing on stage in front of 10,000 people. And it turns out that the producer has walked into the dressing room of the guest star. At that point, it was Grace Jones. He'd walked into her dressing room with about 10 of his douchebag friends, and they were doing cocaine on her table. And Grace Jones freaked out and refused to go on stage. And I find this out as I'm standing on stage in front of like 10, 15,000 people. And I'm literally introducing Grace Jones when the stage manager's like, and you're like, for how long, and you're like, I just stretch. And then, and you've got to be able to just go. And there's a comfort level that you have, that just comes from the experience of standing on stage and playing with an audience and having fun with an audience. And, when realizing that the audience is, your friend, they don't want you to fail. They want you to succeed. They want to have fun. They bought the ticket. They've taken the ride. It's up to us to, to make that ride just fun. And a lot of the fun just comes from comfortable. And so, like what your guests don't know is we spent an hour before we went live going back and forth testing our equipment to make sure that the audio and the video synced up, and it didn't, and to make sure that everything was comfortable. So we wouldn't be thinking about the technology. Right. We'd be just playing and chatting. And,
this is a new experience for people that when an act like yours is so, it really needs the interaction from the people, and it really needs that to move along.
So you're saying that I suck and I'm boring right now?
No, I'm just saying.
Well, that's it. No cup for you, Jeff.
No.
Michael, take that cup out of the mail. Jeff doesn't get a cup.
No, what I mean is it's you need to learn how to trying to translate that into response. Like a band has a song and they can play a song, right? And they can just go, and we're, as performers, we're used to sometimes people not clapping, but sometimes as I'm listening to you describe your tricks and your interaction with people, that has a lot to do with the setup of the trick, is the joke and drawing people in and the communication. It sounds like that is something that helps when the trick is then performed, it helps it along because the people have been pulled into it by your dialogue with them.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, I've always been more of a storyteller than a magician, and I sell myself as an entertainer, not as a magician. I mean, it's not true. I sell myself as a magician, but the agents that work with me, the people that work with me regularly, they know that my thing is entertaining, telling stories, playing, having fun. Obviously, I want the tricks to work, but I am less concerned about the trick working than that we're having fun and we're engaged and that we're playing and we're having a good time. The tricks are secondary to that. The tricks are the framework. They're the path that we're going to take to get to an ending that we all are sharing this journey together. But the fun, a lot of the fun comes from the stops that we make along the way and the stories that we tell along the way and the things that we encounter and enjoy and the fun that we have. The journey is the fun. And that's always, but that's my philosophy. Other magicians have different philosophies about it. For other people, it's more about the trick, and and they're not wrong. I mean, I love seeing a good magician just do good tricks. I'm just not a good magician.
Well, one of the main reasons why I would always call you is because of just what you said. You would go to each table, you were personable, and you'd talk to people and get them comfortable, and that's what they really need in the corporate world. And then you show them a trick, and that's kind of icing on the cake. The interaction with people is what they like. They like to be able to talk with somebody who's performing. That makes it feel like the show was being brought to them and being brought to their table. And you were always really
Yeah.
good at that.
Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you, and
Yeah.
I always enjoyed it. I think the fact that I liked it, and the fact that I like people and I'm genuinely interested in people, I think makes a huge difference. Um,
And you can dance
because
too. And you
I
can do
can
the
dance.
tango. You can do the tango.
I can tango. Do you know how to do the tango?
How do you
It's-
tango?
It's you can't see my feet.
No.
I don't think I can show my feet here. Let's see if I can get. No, you can't even. You can't even tell I'm not wearing pants. Look, so you say each foot is a letter. It's TANGO. So it's TANGO. TANGO. Or you can do it like this. You run into the forest and you hide behind a tree. You run into the forest and you hide behind a tree. Dun, 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 da, 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 dun, dun. Run into the forest and you hide behind a tree. That's how you tango.
Oh man, I love that. So Paul, we've already been over an hour.
Time flies when you're having fun and drinking coffee
Man,
and talking to old friends.
yeah. It's been a while since we've talked. Is there any kind of last minute kind of splash you can leave us with a magic thing that people will go like, what the hell?
I'll do, you know what, I'll do something, and I don't know if it's going to be good or not because I have never done this in front of a camera before. It's probably going to be absolutely dreadful, but I will try it and we'll see what happens. Let me just get my earplugs back in. I need to return these and get my regular iPad thingies, earpods. Do you ever play pool, Jeff?
I have, yes.
I was in the pool hall the other night, and there was these fancy guys. They got those fancy cues. You know, the pool stick is called a cue. They had these fancy pool cues that you would screw them together. You know what I'm talking about? And I found it a little intimidating. Now I don't play pool. I play cards. You know, so I had to make this myself. But I like that.
What?
What magic? Ooh, spanky. All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. This is just some sneaky sleight of hand. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to ripple through the cards. I normally do this for an audience that's right here. I don't know. I've never done this in front of a camera before. This is just for you, just for your viewers, Jeff, and for you. I'm going to ripple through the cards. Like this is rippling, Jeff. That's rippling.
Okay.
This is dribbling right here. Dribbling. That's dribbling. This is drooling. You don't want to see that. Not nice. Not nice. I'm going to ripple through the cards, and as I do, you just say stop. Now, wherever you say stop, that's going to be hard. I'm going to look away. You might see my bald spot. I'm going to look away so I can't see where you say stop. You just say stop.
Stop. Stop.
Right there?
Yep.
Right there. Are you happy with that one?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
I can go backwards or forward. It's up to you. I want you to be happy.
Go
Jeff.
back. Go back.
All right, I'm just going to go back. I'm going to start again here.
Stop.
Hold on.
Nope.
Wait.
Stop.
Right there?
Yes.
You're happy now. You can
Yes.
see it. I can't see. You can see it?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So, Jeff, what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and find your 8 of hearts faster than anyone's ever found it before. And I know that it's yours because there's only one card that's facing the opposite direction from all the other cards. It's your card, the 8 of hearts. Now, here's the thing, Jeff. Here is the thing. If I were to take your 8 right there, and I were to put that 8 in the middle of the deck like this, and it were to jump to the top of the deck, you would probably think I was cheating, Jeff. I take the 8, I put it into the middle of the deck like that, and it jumps to the top. You're going to think that I probably have extra 8s. I don't. I wouldn't do that to you, but you might think that. So, Jeff, let's put a little marky mark on this, little mark on here, and where's my? Let me get a pen out here. Would you just go ahead and tell me what to write on here? I'll write anything you want. It could be your initials. It could be anything, but keep it clean. It's a family show, or is it? I don't know. It's your show, Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
It may not be a family show.
No, just put a little J on there for me.
A little
for
J.
A little J.
J for Jeff. That is nice. It's a J for Jeff. Now I couldn't duplicate that, so we know that this is your J for Jeff. Yes, so I can't duplicate that J for Jeff. Keep your eye on the 8 with the J. Watch this; it goes into the middle of the deck like that. Now, Jeff, it's not on top of the deck. That's the 10 of clubs. But even if it was your card, you would know that it wasn't your card because your card has the 8J, and I can't duplicate that. And that's my point. So keep your eye on that card. So we put it right there in the middle of the deck. Did you see it go into the middle? It jumps to the bottom of the deck this time. Very sneaky, that little 8 of jacks. Actually, you know what? Let me turn on my. There we go. Oh, that's nicer. Now you can see my pretty face, my pretty eyes. Well, you can see the little magic trick go. Keep your eye on the 8, Jeff, as it disappears. Did you see it go? It's turned over in the middle of the deck, facing the opposite direction from all the other cards. There's a little magic trick to leave you on. That was a little bit of fun, a little bit of nonsense.
Yay!
Yay, magic.
You know, that deserves my sound effects. That was great. Thank you, Paul.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me on your stream. It's been a ton of fun. I've had a blasty blast.
You know,
I'll share this with all my friends.
Yeah, I'm going to take this and make it.
I wish you would have dressed nicer for this. I mean, I dressed up.
Well, you know, I kind of crawl out of bed and come into this room. And, you know, I'm going to go right back to bed.
You and me both.
Right. All right. Well, I'm going to close out the show. Thank you, Paul, for being here and talking with me. And we'll catch up again soon. I'm going to play some music and take us out.